Hi everyone, Jane here. I'm back with another video for you today, so welcome or welcome back. And I thought today I really wanted to do something a little bit grungy and steampunky. So I'm starting off in my Dylusions journal. It's the smaller of the journals, and I have got out a number of different washi tapes and tapes that I have in my stash. And what I've done is I've picked ones of different widths. So I've picked this one, which is an Aall and Create one. I will, as usual, list what I've used in the description box below. So if I use any colours, I'll also just put them down in there because I probably won't remember what I used when I'm doing this voiceover. So this is definitely an Aall and Create washi tape. And I picked this one because it was nice and thick. And I wanted ones that were black and white or just plain. I didn't want any colours because I knew I was going to add colour over the top. So I'm mostly doing this for the texture rather than the pattern, although a little tiny bit of the pattern may show through, but I really wanted to build up some areas. So you will see me adding a lot of bits of tape on top of others. And the second tape I use is, I do believe it's also an Aall and Create washi tape. The alphabet one is one that I can't remember. I think I bought it from Be Crafty, but I think it's one that's quite available everywhere. So I won't necessarily give links, but I will put down if I can remember where they came from. Now the one that looked like masking tape, I'm not actually sure is masking tape. It was on a very small roll, so I think it may also be a washi tape because it's a very translucent when I stick it down. So although I do put it over the top quite a lot, it does still show the patterns coming through. Today on this page I'm using the Liquitex Professional Matte Medium. It's one of my favourites. I'm not I haven't got one that I use all the time in terms of matte mediums or collage mediums, but there are a couple that do seem to I use the most, and that is this one and also the Tim Holtz Distress Collage Medium in the matte version. So I'm sticking the different types of washi tape over, and I'm trying to keep it into two main areas. I wanted it to be mostly at the top on the right hand side and mostly at the bottom on the left hand side. I did start off as well by sticking a strip right down the middle of my page. That was because I knew I was going to be adding quite a lot of water and sort of watery type medium to this page, so I didn't want it to go through too much. I don't worry too much in my art journals, but you don't really want it going through really badly because also it damages the sort of the spine part of your book. I'm now using, this is a memory box stencil. It's a really old one. It's called Texture and it's got a number, and again I will put it in the list it in the description box below. And I'm just adding a little bit in areas sort of to match the sort of vertical aspect of the washi tape, and I'm using the Pretty Gets Gritty white texture paste, which is one of my favorites. I then wanted to add in a little bit more texture, so I'm just taking a little bit of the texture paste and putting it on quite lightly, not really thick, just to give a little bit of texture in the background, just with my finger and spreading it out. And it does help if you want to create different sort of looks in your background when you add the colour, it really does help. Once that had dried properly, I wanted to just give this all a little bit of a coat of gesso. So I'm using the Pretty Gets Gritty white gesso, and I'm not putting it on too thick, and I do add a little bit of water as well just to thin it out, because although the washi tape is mostly there for texture rather than pattern, I did want to sort of see a little bit of that black and white, which is why I chose the black and white as well, sort of coming through, because it just adds a hint of something in the background. And that's what I like about these sort of pages where I'm building up layers and layers of texture, because although you may not see all of what you first put down, there may just be a little subtle hint in the background as you're looking, and you sort of pick those things out. So I'm making sure I just dry this off very quickly. Gesso does dry quite quickly, and it usually has more of a translucent look than an acrylic paint, which is why I like to use gesso, and it provides a good sort of base. Now these are my core watercolors. I do have a video where I talk about these core watercolors, and I do put them into this palette, and I'm just first of all adding a little bit of water down onto the page, and then I'm choosing just the greens and the blues from the colours. So I will, again, I'll link in, not link, I will list in the description box the colours that I use. I can probably roughly tell you, I'm pretty sure it's sap green, green gold, indigo and cobalt teal that I use. I'm pretty sure it's those, because I wanted just those colours because I was going for this sort of steampunky grungy background, and I'm adding quite a lot of water into this. Now core are normally very, very vibrant, but obviously because I'm adding so much water to them, I really wanted them to flow between the texture of the texture paste, flow between the texture of the washi tape. I'm adding so much water in just to make sure that they're doing that. But once they have really diluted, they're not as vibrant as usual. So what I do is I also then go in over the top again with a little bit more colour, just to enhance that colour a bit, because they were getting maybe a little too washed out for me. I did want more colour than what you can see currently on the right hand side of the page. Now once this was dry, I decided to go in with some of my coloured pencils just to add a little bit more depth to the certain areas. So I was trying to match ish the the pencil colour with the paint colour. So I will have to list the colours that I use with the pencils down below, because I truly can't remember. But I went with the greens and the blues. And then because I was going for that sort of industrial type look, I added in a little bit of almost like it may very well be burnt sienna, but I will list it, a sort of a rusty brown colour, because I wanted to just give a little hint of that sort of industrial look. So I'm just following sort of in a vertical and horizontal way, because that also is adding to that sort of industrial sort of vibe that I wanted to be creating on this spread. In some areas as well, you also see that I do actually colour areas in just to intensify the colour as well. So I wanted to add a little bit of stamping. Now this is a stamp set I haven't had out for a little while. It's a Tim Holtz stamp set. I bought it quite a while ago. I have used it in the past, but I don't tend to grab a lot of my stamp sets a lot of the time. So this is, I think it's called Glitch, and I did show you there, but I will also again list it. And I'm going with the archival inks because they are permanent and waterproof, and they're really good at going over different sorts of surfaces. So I'm using, again, a selection of colours that match in with what's already there. And I started with the finest of the stamps with one of the lighter colours, and then I gradually build up with the more solid stamps. And I'm still keeping to that horizontal and vertical sort of orientation with my stamping as well. And I gradually build up, and then eventually end up with some of the vintage photo, because I wanted to echo again that sort of rusty-ish look that I was getting with the pencil in the background as well. So some of it, the stamping you won't see because it is blending in with the background, but then bits of it are just coming off into that white space. And I have left, for me, quite a lot of white space this time. I find it really tricky, but I do like when I'm doing things like this, that having that white space around really enhances the project. So I've decided that I wanted to use some of the images from Marta's Little Personas book. So this is Maremy Small Art, and I will, as always, link her channel and the where you can buy these books in the description box below. I'm based in the UK, so I go through Amazon UK because we can't order directly from Marta here in the UK. But I would always recommend that with anything that I'm showing you, do please check it out for your local area. I do not use affiliated links, so anything I link is literally there for you to get that information from. So I'm not losing out by you buying something elsewhere. So do please check out for your area, because obviously if I'm in the UK and I link something that's a UK based company, if you're based in America or Australia, then the delivery costs may be prohibitive to you. So check out if you can get it in a better way. But I chose these two little characters because I wanted one on either side of the page, and I wanted them to be facing each other, well, sort of. So that's why I chose these ones. I also chose them because the colours that were in them are very similar to the colours of my page. Now, initially I was going to back them onto that bit of card. To be totally honest, I forgot. And then I decided I can't go back in and stick them down and cut around them again. I'm just going to stick them directly onto the page. But I decided to stick them on with an actual white acrylic glue, not the collage medium, because I wanted to make sure with all that texture and different mediums in the background that they were going to be stuck down properly. So I'm sticking them sort of so they're standing on something, but they do still look like they are floating a bit in midair. So I got out my black Stabilo Aall pencil. I love these pencils. They are just so pigmented when you water them out, and they dry permanently. So I put a bit of colour down and then I'm watering it out. And I decided I wanted just to add a little bit of shadow, a little bit of shading, but only around one sort of side of the character. So I'm going for the back, so going towards the outside of the page where that shadow is going to be. Sometimes I do it all the way around, but today I felt there was so much going on in the background anyway, it didn't need too much. I just felt it needed it on that side of the figure. So what I do is I put the colour down, water it out, and then I usually find I then water it out too much. So I have to add a bit more colour in, and then I find that I've added too much, I have to water it out. So it's a process. So now I'm going over to the other side doing the same with this little character. I think the characters in this book are just so delightful, and steampunk is something that I do really enjoy. I love this industrial sort of vibe, and you can get away with really going to town in your backgrounds, and you don't have to worry about them being perfect because they're meant to be a little bit grungy. They're meant to be, look less than perfect. So that is what I like about it. So adding in a little bit of shading around, again, I just went for that outside edge. I have my kitchen towel on hand as well, because it's, as long as it's still wet, you can lift the colour. Once it's dried, these Stabilo Alls, they will be permanent, but whilst it's still wet, you can still get a little bit of lift from the colours, and you can water them out, but they do dry reasonably quickly, I would say. And obviously once they have dried, that's it, you're not going to be able to move them. So that is something to be aware of. this point, I decided actually my background is too dark and I want to add some light spots in. I debated how to do it. I debated whether I wanted to use waxes or splatters. But in the end, I decided I would go in again with my white gesso, because the white gesso doesn't totally obliterate everything. And I just added almost dry brushing across parts of the background. I wasn't worried too much. I just felt it needed to lighten up a little bit. And then the final part is always for me my sentiments. It's very important to me. You don't have to put sentiments on things or words on things, but for me that is a major part of my art journaling. I do love, and these are from Asha Marquette, and I will again link her channel and her shop below. So that is my journal page. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you'd like to give me a thumbs up for a like, and if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It would be much appreciated. And until next time, bye-bye.